In a time before instant messages and social media, there was a quiet librarian named Eleanor. Eleanor had always been more comfortable in the company of books than people. The scent of old paper, the feel of a well-worn novel in her hands, these were the things that made her feel at peace. She had a routine, predictable and safe until one rainy afternoon when everything changed. Eleanor was shelving books in the back corner of the library when she noticed something unusual. Tucked between the pages of an old, leather-bound novel was a yellowed piece of paper. Curiosity piqued, she carefully unfolded it. The paper was a letter written in elegant cursive, dated from the 1940s. "To my dearest Rose," it began. The words were filled with longing, a deep, aching love that had endured through time. Eleanor was mesmerized. The letter spoke of a love that had been tested by distance and war, but had remained steadfast. The writer promised to return, to hold Rose in his arms again, to never let her go. Eleanor's heart fluttered. Who were these people? What had become of them? She read the letter over and over, each time feeling the emotions as if they were her own. It was as though she had been transported to another time, to another life, where love was the most important thing in the world. She spent the rest of the day thinking about the letter. That night, she couldn't sleep. The words haunted her, filling her mind with images of a young couple torn apart by circumstances beyond their control. What had happened to them? Had they found each other again, or were they lost to time, their love story unfinished? The next morning, Eleanor returned to the library with a sense of purpose. She began searching through the archives, hoping to find more letters, more clues. Days turned into weeks, and Eleanor's search became an obsession. She felt connected to these strangers, to their love, in a way she couldn't explain. Then one day, she found another letter hidden in the same novel. This one was addressed to my dearest Eleanor. Her heart skipped a beat. Was this a coincidence? She read on, her hands trembling. The letter was from the same man, but this time it was as if he was speaking directly to her. I have watched you, Eleanor, through the pages of these letters. I have seen your heart, your longing, your loneliness. And now, I am here. Eleanor's breath caught in her throat. What was happening? Was this some kind of joke? But the words were sincere, filled with the same emotion as the first letter. She didn't know what to think, but she knew one thing for certain: her life was about to change in ways she could never have imagined. Eleanor sat frozen, the letter trembling in her hands. The idea that someone from the past could know her, could write to her, was impossible, yet here it was, right in front of her. Questions swirled in her mind. Who was this man? How did he know her? But more than anything, Eleanor felt a strange connection, as if these letters had bridged a gap across time, linking her to someone who understood her in ways no one else ever had. Days passed, but the letter remained in her thoughts. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was part of something extraordinary, something beyond the ordinary constraints of time and space. She began to write a letter of her own, pouring out her thoughts and emotions onto the page. She didn't know who would read it, or if anyone would, but writing it felt right. To the man who knows me, she began, hesitating before continuing. I don't understand how this is possible, how you seem to know my heart, but I feel your words as if they were meant for me. Who are you? And how is it that I feel like I've known you forever? Eleanor wasn't sure what to do with the letter once she had finished. She felt foolish for even writing it, yet she couldn't just let it go. On a whim, she slipped the letter back into the same book where she had found the others, hoping against hope that somehow it would reach him. The next day, Eleanor returned to the library, heart-pounding in anticipation. She didn't expect anything to happen, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something would. And she was right. There, in the same spot as before, was another letter, this time addressed to my dearest Eleanor. The words on the page sent chills down her spine. "I knew you would write," the letter began. "I have waited for this moment, waited to feel your words, as I have felt your presence all this time. My name is Samuel, and I have loved you across lifetimes. We are bound, you and I, by something deeper than time, deeper than anything that can be explained. I have searched for you, and now I have found you." Eleanor's breath caught in her throat. This was beyond anything she could have imagined. A love that spanned lifetimes. How could that be? Yet as she read Samuel's words, she felt them resonate deep within her, as if she had always known them, always known him. Samuel's letter spoke of a love that had been interrupted by fate, a love that had never truly died. He had searched for her across time, across worlds, and now finally they had found each other again. "I know this must be hard to believe," the letter continued. "But I have felt your presence, seen your face in my dreams, and now, through these letters, we have found each other again. I promise you, Eleanor, this is real. We are real." Eleanor's mind raced. She didn't know what to believe, but she couldn't deny the connection she felt, the pull toward this mysterious man. His words were filled with a deep, abiding love, a love that she had longed for her entire life. Could it be possible? Could she have known him in another life, another time? She didn't have the answers, but she knew one thing: she needed to know more. Eleanor wrote back, pouring her heart onto the page, asking questions, sharing her own fears and hopes. And so began their exchange, a series of letters that transcended time and space, bringing them closer together with each word. As the days turned into weeks, Eleanor found herself falling in love with Samuel. His letters were filled with passion, with a deep understanding of her soul. She felt as though she had known him forever, as if they were two halves of the same whole, finally reunited after lifetimes apart. The connection between them grew stronger with each letter, until Eleanor could hardly wait to see what Samuel would write next. But as their love deepened, so too did the mystery. Who was Samuel? Where was he writing from? And most importantly, how could they ever be together? These questions loomed over Eleanor's heart, even as she fell deeper in love with the man who had somehow, impossibly, found her through the pages of a book. Eleanor's life had become a whirlwind of emotions. The letters from Samuel filled her days with a joy and passion she had never known. Yet, as much as she cherished their connection, the mystery of it all weighed heavily on her heart. She longed to see Samuel, to hear his voice, to know that he was real. But how could that ever be possible? One evening, after the library had closed and the world outside was hushed, Eleanor received a letter that would change everything. This one was different from the others. It was urgent, the handwriting a bit shakier, as if Samuel had written it in haste. "My dearest Eleanor," it began, "the time has come for us to meet. I have waited so long, and now at last, the moment is near. But there is something you must understand. Our love, our connection, is not bound by the laws of this world. To be with me, you must be willing to take a leap of faith, to trust in what we have, even if it seems impossible." Eleanor's heart pounded in her chest. Was he asking her to leave everything behind? To join him in another world, another time? She wasn't sure what he meant, but she knew she couldn't let fear stop her now. She had come too far, felt too much, to turn back. Samuel's letter ended with a simple instruction. Meet me at the old oak tree in the park tomorrow at midnight. There, all will be revealed. The next day passed in a blur. Eleanor couldn't focus on anything but the thought of meeting Samuel. As midnight approached, she made her way to the park, her heart racing with anticipation. The air was cool, the night sky filled with stars. The old oak tree loomed ahead, its branches stretching out like welcoming arms. She stood beneath the tree, her breath visible in the cool night air. Minutes passed, and then from the shadows, a figure emerged. Eleanor's heart skipped a beat. It was Samuel. He was just as she had imagined him, tall, with kind eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of ages. There was something timeless about him, as if he belonged to another era. He reached out, taking her hand in his, and at that moment, Eleanor felt a rush of emotion so powerful it nearly overwhelmed her.
Eleanor,
Samuel said softly.
you found me.
Tears filled Eleanor's eyes.
How is this possible?
She whispered.
How are you here?
Samuel smiled, a sad but loving smile.
I have always been with you, Eleanor. Across lifetimes, across worlds, we have found each other again and again. Our love is eternal, but in this life, we were separated by time itself. These letters, this connection, they were a bridge, bringing us together once more.
Eleanor looked into his eyes, feeling the truth of his words in her very soul. She knew, somehow, that this was right, that Samuel was telling the truth. But she also knew that their time together in this world was limited. Samuel gently cupped her face, his touch warm and familiar. I don't have much time, he said, his voice tinged with sorrow. In this world, I am but a shadow, a memory. But in another life, we will find each other again, and we will have the love we were meant to share. Eleanor's heart ached. She didn't want to lose him, not now, not after finding him. What do I do? She asked, her voice breaking. You must live, Eleanor, Samuel replied. Live your life, and when the time is right, we will be together again. Our love is eternal, and nothing can take that away from us. Eleanor felt a deep peace settle over her, mixed with the bittersweet pain of saying goodbye. She knew she had to let him go, but she also knew that their love would never truly end. Samuel leaned in, pressing a gentle kiss to her forehead. I will wait for you, my love, until we meet again. And with that, he began to fade like mist in the morning sun, until he was gone, leaving Eleanor standing alone beneath the old oak tree. But she was not truly alone. She carried Samuel's love with her, a love that had transcended time and space, a love that would wait for her on the other side. As she walked away from the tree, Eleanor felt a sense of calm, of knowing that no matter what, she and Samuel would find each other again. In the days that followed, Eleanor continued her life with a new sense of purpose. She kept the letters in a special box, knowing that they were a testament to a love that would never die. And every time she walked by the old oak tree, she felt Samuel's presence, as if he were just waiting for the moment when they would be together again. Their story wasn't over. It was simply waiting for the next chapter.